Okay, so anyway, we were talking about your dad and how that made you feel. And this is something you're still struggling with too, correct?
It is, and it wasn't until I got sober last year and really started to dig deep
Mhm.
into the why I did drugs and why I was an alcoholic. What was I trying to suppress? What was I trying to forget? Um, and my father was one of the big issues because I always felt like I wasn't good enough, that he wasn't around. And who wants to feel that? You know, I sure as heck didn't want to feel that. That's a very dark, hopeless feeling to feel as if you're not wanted by a parent. So
Well,
I didn't want to feel that.
I hope that your therapist does ask you to, not on that day, but reach out to him and actually ask him those questions that you're feeling so that you can get some closure on it, whether he likes it or not, whether he gets upset.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what my sponsor says too. He said, you know what, you're at that point, you're on that step, making amends and making a moral
That's right.
searching inventory of yourself. And he said, and whether he wants to make amends or not, he said, this isn't for him. This is for you. And this is for your mental health and for you to move past and to get better.
Right.
So I came to the conclusion over the last year that even if I don't get that I'm sorry, which I'm not looking for, but it would be nice. Um, Even if I don't get, son, I've always loved you. I need to let him know how I feel and how it's made me feel over the last 30
Exactly.
some years.
Exactly.
That would be a huge weight lift. That would be one of the things that I am still holding on to that I think will free me a little bit more into my sobriety.
And absolutely. And here's the thing, as long as it's you that is saying, I forgive you for not being there as my father, that's actually going to make you feel better. Believe it or not, it will. And
I know.
and you know
Yeah.
what? Once you do your stuff, it's all on him.
Yes. And you know what? And that's what my sponsor said too. That's exactly what he said. He said, remember this, you're doing this for your health.
Right.
He said, it's not for him. It's not to let him off the hook.
Right.
It's not, he said, this is for you and you only. And he said, and don't have expectations. He said, because they'll only let you down. He said,
Exactly.
go in there, tell him what you want to tell him how it made you feel. He said, and then at that point, you let it go, or you
Okay.
try to.
Okay. So now let's go back to all your partying before you were going into the military and how that escalated.
Yeah. So, like I said, I started on the weekends. I found myself cutting school, going during the week. And then I knew I was going into the Marine Corps. So I stopped doing all the drugs. I had about 2 months before I was going in. So all the drugs completely stopped because I knew I was
You
going to
had
get
that
tested.
figured out, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I had it down to a plan. I was like, I'm gonna have fun this year because next year shit's gonna hit the fan, and I get really got to get serious. So I thought it was a phase. I figured I was getting it out of my system. I was doing what normal 17, 18-year-olds did.
Whatever
And
that is.
yeah, exactly. So, but when I got into the Marines, the drugs 100% stopped because we got tested and it just couldn't. But the alcohol consumption escalated 10 times fold.
You know, I wonder why the military doesn't watch out for that more often, because there's so many that, I mean, I know that drinking is a legal, natural thing, but they really do need to keep a better eye out on those that are abusing it so that they can get them help before it's too late too.
It was almost encouraged.
Was it?
Their motto was, if you're old enough to take a bullet for this country, you're old enough to have a cold beer. And we would go to the local bars And their only rule was you couldn't sit there with the beer in your hand in case the authorities walked in. You had to take a drink and sit it on the bar table or
Oh,
the
so that
bar.
was even if you weren't of legal drinking age
I
then.
was 18,
So, well,
18,
I don't,
19, 20.
okay. So because
Yeah.
when I turned 19, it was drinking age. And when I turned 20, they moved it up to 21. So
Okay.
they grandfather clocked us in, the ones that were
Oh,
able to
wow.
start at 19.
Okay. No,
So
for me, it's always been
it's
21.
always been 21. Okay.
Yeah. But so I was 18, 19, and 20 in the service. And the only rule was you can't stand there holding it with a beer in case the authorities walked in. But they would serve you
So
all
they
night
even
long.
allowed you to be illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we would see our sergeants in the bars and they would say, just make sure you're up at 3 a.m. to go running.
So
We
maybe
would
they
come in at
thought that helped you guys cope too.
cope and it was like a rite of passage.
Okay.
Kind of.
What is that?
Well, so being in the Marines, again, that's an ego thing because I wanted to be in the hardest military branch out of all the branches. Um, they had a stigma about when you're in the Marines, you're a Marine. You know, you're not a soldier, you're not an Air
Right,
Force
right,
cadet,
right. I
you
got
are a
family that's
Marine.
Marines.
Yeah, and that we were held to a higher standard, so we were expected to be all in all the time, which my bipolar exceptionally helped me in the Marines. I was always top 5 in my class on everything. I was squad leaders. I was guides. I was in charge of the guys. I was always on the go, 100 miles an hour for 3 years.
Even
So
Medicaid?
I never told the Marines I had bipolar, or else I would not have been able to go in.
That's right. You wouldn't have.
And I never took medicine for 3 years. So from 18 to 20, I was
Gotcha.
unmedicated. So
Gotcha.
I was on a full manic cycle for 3 years. There was no off. I had no off time. So when I got home at the age of 20, and I did 6 months in Somalia. It was not during wartime, it was during peacetime, but it was right after 95. And I still, we were shot at. I saw dead bodies. I mean, I saw it all. I just wasn't physically active in firefights. I didn't actively kill anybody, but I was still in that situation. When I got home
But
in
you saw it
95,
all. You just didn't, but you just said you saw it all, which is
oh
traumatizing.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw dead bodies, dead people, burnt bodies, blown up parts. I saw it all, but my personal, I was never shooting at anybody. Nobody shot directly at me, but I was in that zone. I mean, I was there. And when I got home at the age of 20, my mom let me move back into my house, into her house, because I was obviously I was still 20. And the first month, I was kind of like, you know, man, I don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore. I can sleep in. My bed doesn't have to be square. I don't have to dress a certain way. I don't have to eat certain things. And that first month was kind of like relief.
Mhm.
It got into the second and third month, and my manic turned into depression.
Wow. Yeah.
I started to realize I was no longer in the service. I now have to take care of myself. I don't know what job I'm going to do. I don't know how to take care of myself because I thought I was going to be in the service for a very long time.
So why did you not stay in the service?
After my third year, I had broken my ankle 3 times within 3 years. And I was 0311 infantry. So it's one of the hardest MOSs to have in the military branch. And they told me I was no longer physically fit to continue my last year of service. So they gave me an honorable discharge and they sent me home.
Okay.
So
That would be
that
hard.
affected me as well too, because I was like, man, I only had 11 months left. I couldn't complete my 4-year contract. I kind of feel like I wasn't good enough for them to keep me on for 11 more months. That was weighing heavy on me. I was home now. I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's my thinking. I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. I'm 20 years old and I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I got
You
extremely
do know
depressed.
and realize that even at 25, most people don't, they're not even mature enough to know what they're going to do. And you know what
I
I'm
just
saying?
found out past last year what I want to do with the rest of my life, and I'm 44.
I know, but my thing is, what the hell are they doing saying at 18, you're legally an adult and can make adult decisions when it's bullshit?
You're
You're
such a
not
child at 18.
mature enough. You haven't
That's
lived
why
long enough
that's why the military takes you at 18, because they
to
break
help.
you down and they build you up the way that they want. They change your perspective on everything. They change the way that you think, and they want you to think like them. And it really did change me. When I came home, my mom, she'll tell you this. She said, the Marines is what really took you over the edge. I sent them a strong young man, and they sent me home a broken young boy. And she'll say that to this day. She said, what you had to go through broke my son. She said, you are not the same person that I sent in there at 18 years old. And she said, that's when my addiction really kicked off, is when I got home. That third month when I got home, I was suicidal. I took my stepfather's gun, and I put it in my lap, and I was contemplating using it. Luckily, at that time, I had a girlfriend, and I called her and I told her, I said, hey, I don't know what to do. I'm sitting here with the gun in my lap. And she came over within 5 minutes, and she put it away, and she talked to me. And I told my mom how sad I was. I never told her about the gun. I didn't want her to freak out, I guess. And
Or
at
should
the
be
age of
worried all the time.
exactly at the age of 20, almost 21 at that point, is when I went back and saw the doctors. And I got back put on medicine after 3.5 years of not being on medicine. At that time, I wasn't doing drugs yet when I first came home, but I was drinking some, but not as much as I was in the Marines, and not as much as I was my senior year in high school. That took about a year for me to get back into really drinking, because I started to hang out with my friends again, because I'm home from the military. I'm reconnecting with my old friends from high school. They're all still doing the same thing as when I left high school. They're all still partying and having fun. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have some fun again. I've been away for 3 years and very strict life, and I'm going to go have some fun. Well, that fun turned into the next 25 years of my life.
Okay, then let's go from that point. Wow.
Yeah. I came home. I had a girlfriend for about 10 months. We broke up, and I met my wife, whom I've actually went to middle school and high school with. So I grew up with her. We weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but I grew up with her in the neighborhood. I knew her.
Were you
And
even
we
friends?
met.
Were you friends?
Yeah, we were friends. We actually were friends in high school. She actually dated one of my real good friends for all 4 years of high school. So that was my girlfriend's buddy. She was just she was one of the guys. When we hung out, she was always with them. She was one of the guys. She liked to party back in the day. So it was kind of like hanging out with a friend.
I just want to ask you something real quick. So it is that guy still your friend?
He is, but he moved to Oregon. I haven't seen him in 20 plus years.
Okay, because one of the standards is doesn't matter how much time gone is gone, you don't date your best friend's ex. He didn't have
It
a
was a
problem
little,
with it.
he never said anything to me directly.
Yeah,
He was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life. He still is.
yeah.
Never confrontational. I don't think he ever got no fist fight in his entire life. He was just one of those really cool, sailing, mellow guys. He was the pot dealer in high school. So the typical hippie, pot smoking kind of a guy, just wanted to get along with
Laid
everybody
back.
and laid back, and never confronted me or said anything to me whatsoever. And my wife, she's never brought it up that he had ever had an issue with it. By the time I got back, he had moved to a different county, so he wasn't around. Um, and the more we got into our relationship and got married, had our child, he done moved to Oregon. So that's been 20 plus years. We haven't, I see him on Facebook or something here and there. I see some pictures of him, but we've never really
Never
connected after
spoke.
that. No, no, nothing like that. And now it's been so long. I mean, me and my wife been together since 1996.
Okay.
So she's my wife now. You know what I mean? That was high school. You know what I mean? So I met my wife. We got together. I had some money saved up from the military. So at the age of 20, almost 21, when we got together, I went and bought a townhouse. We moved in together.
Now, how the heck
A
did
year.
you do that? Was that, did you get some kind of, did you get disability? after
No,
you got out?
I've never asked for disability. I never will.
Did they give you a settlement?
They gave me 3 years of Montgomery GI Bill, which was like $4,800. And then I say every month that I got paid, I only got paid every 2 weeks, but I would send one paycheck home to my mother.
Okay, but didn't
Because
they also, I know they do this in the Army. I thought it was in the Marines too. Don't you also get like low percentage loans?
yes, yep,
Okay.
VA loans. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I got.
Okay.
I got a VA loan
Okay.
when I got out, and it was. I mean, the house was like 72,000. That was a townhouse, and I was 20, and I think our mortgage was like $500 because of VA loan.
That's high though from when you were 20.
Yeah, but I was the only one at 20 years old. I thought all my friends had a house. You know
I'm
what I mean?
sure.
Yeah, and they were all like, "How'd you get a house?" I was like, "Well, I did 3 years in the military. I saved half my money, and I got a VA loan. And through the VA loan, I was able to buy myself a vehicle, and we had a nice little townhouse." So after we've been together for a year, we had our first daughter, um, and the drinking at that point was only on the weekends because I had a job. My wife had a job. She was pregnant. I was actually doing pretty good in my early 20s as far as keeping the drinking to the weekends.
Okay.
But when I did drink in the weekends, it wasn't one or two beers. It was a 12 pack. It was some shots. It was until I threw up or passed out.
So
It
I'm
wasn't,
curious, did you go out and drink or were you at home and drinking?
thank God I was never a bar drinker. I always liked to drink at home. I don't
But
even want to know what
you
would
had
happen if
somebody
I
to
went
drink
out.
with?
No, my wife was never a big drinker. Still to this day, she'll have a bottle of wine. It'll sit in the refrigerator for 2 months. Um,
And she never said anything to you about drinking too much or?
it would, and I love her to death because obviously she put up with me for this long, but she definitely was an enabler. She would say, "I think you're drinking too much this week. Can you take next week off and not drink?" And I would do that every once in a while just to appease her. I wouldn't drink for 10 days, but then I would drink again for about a month. And then she'd be like, "You're drinking too much again." Okay, okay, okay. I won't drink for the next couple of days. And then I would pick it back up. That was a cycle. That was a cycle for a very long time. And she would always give me, "Well, if you drink again next week, you're gonna have to go stay at your mom's house because I can't put up with it." So
So
I
she
addicted
tried
her.
to set some boundaries.
She tried, but she would never stick to them.
Okay.
I would give that 3 or 4 day cushion to let things blow over. And then I'd sneak a 6 pack into the refrigerator and she'd be like, "Well, I thought you weren't drinking." "Well, it's been 4 days. I haven't drank." "Whatever, Tim, whatever." And it was kind of like that for a very long time. Um, which I love her to death, but she definitely didn't help in that situation.
Which isn't
Um,
her fault because she probably didn't even know how. Has,
yeah,
has she gone to any meetings with you?
she went, the only meeting she has went to was my 1 year anniversary. She's a very, uh, I wouldn't say introvert, but she's very to herself. She doesn't like her stuff out there for the world to hear.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the only
like I
reason I'm
said,
asking is because I don't know about where you live, but we have Al-Anon too.
we have that. We do.
And that's always suggested to the other half, whether you're married to them or they're, your partner, whatever you want to call them. So, and your kids even, if you're an attorney,
Alateen.
you have kids, there's Alateen. And that's so they don't become an enabler and so that they understand the things that you're actually going through. But so I just wondered if that was
Yeah, I've brought it up to her several times, and
not her thing.
her response every time is, I don't need to sit around and listen to a bunch of people tell me something that I lived through for 27 years. She said, I don't want to rehash it. She said, I want to move on. You're sober. You're going to meetings. You share. I go to different states and I speak for mental health and addiction. And she's like, and I don't want to rehash it. She says, I want to forgive and forget and move on, which for her, that's what works for her. For me, I believe the more that I speak, the more that I share, the more that I can help somebody that truly believes that they think that they're alone, there's no hope, and there's no way that they're going to get sober, when that is so far from the truth.
Our Al-Anon, I only went for like 3 years. And I wasn't married to an alcoholic. I've never even dated an alcoholic, and I don't drink at all. But my father turned into an alcoholic, so it wasn't genetic thing. It was him going through a divorce that he didn't want to have with my mom, and he got no help, and my mom wouldn't let him see my brothers. I was older, so she didn't have a choice with me. I was in high school already, so she couldn't tell me, no, you can't go see your dad. But she kept the boys from him, and that hurt even more. And so the more he hurt, the more he drank, and he became an alcoholic. But it wasn't a genetic thing. I believe that I did trace it back, and there is on my mom's side, but my dad's side, we found one person. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's genetic, you know what I'm saying? But on my mom's side, it's definitely addiction, period, is just genetic. So I think if there's a difference between becoming an alcoholic or having the genes of alcoholic, not as far as what you have to do about it, but whether or not how it's going to be passed on.
Absolutely, yeah.
So but anyway, I went to Al-Anon when my dad started his AA, and that was those years that I went was to learn how not to enable. It wasn't, we didn't sit around and share stories of what we went through. It wasn't like that. Now, I don't know what it's like now, but these were more like lessons on what not to do to enable that person.
That behavior, okay.
Yeah, that's what ours was. And that's what I got out of it, was just the things not to do. And obviously not to blame yourself and, that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I just wondered if there was, I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. So that's what.
No, it is. Yeah, no, we have them all here in Maryland. We have Alateen, Al-Anon, and she just.
Okay, and that's her choice.
Yeah, my oldest daughter took it upon herself, and she went and got 2 books about an alcoholic parent, and she read them.
Well, good for her, because that would help her understand.
Yeah, and that's my oldest daughter. She's 23, and that affected her the most because she's seen me the most. Her whole entire life, her father was an alcoholic and drug addict. Because going into my story, I had surgeries and I was on pain medicine for 6-7 years in a row, and doctors kept giving them to me, and so she's seen the worst of her father. When I came home from rehab, she lives in my house up until last week. She didn't speak to me or look at me for 9 months.
She was pretty pissed, huh?
She didn't want me in the house. She couldn't believe that my wife took me back. And that hurt me so much, because here I am. I just did 32 days in a treatment. Why isn't my daughter speaking to me? And my wife's like, are you kidding me? You were an alcoholic for 27 years. 32 days is not going to change everything that your daughter has been through.
Right.
She's like, just like they tell you, she's like, it's one day at a time, let time heal. And over time, you should hopefully have a relationship. And on my 9th month, out of nowhere, I get a text message from my daughter. And it simply says, Dad, I just want you to know how proud I am of you. I love you. Thank you for letting me heal because I know you're healing too. But I just want to let you know how much I love you and how proud I am of you.
Oh,
That
I love
was the
that.
biggest gift that I received in sobriety because that's my firstborn child and I put her through so much and I never thought she was going to speak to me again. And now knowing that everything, thank God I was never physically abusive. Thank God.
That was
But
going to be my next question. If you,
no, but
what kind of drunk were you?
I sure as shit was verbally abusive. I said the nastiest things to the people I love the most.
So you were
And
emotionally abusive.
yeah, I definitely was. And it would, I would either be the goofy, silly dad or the, why did you move the remote? Pissed off, irritated, everything is on my nerves, dad. And
Did that depend on what you were drinking?
yes.
I
So
just wondered that because a lot of people have told me that whiskey, if they drank whiskey, that they became very angry.
that's what got me into rehab. So I
Mhm.
drank beer for the longest time. That's all I drank was beer, beer,
Mhm.
beer, beer. And the last 2 years of my addiction, of my alcoholism, the beer wasn't doing enough. I would have to drink 18 to 20 beers. And those beers weren't doing enough. So I switched to the IPAs and the lagers, the ones with the more alcohol content. And they weren't just they weren't just giving me that feeling that I wanted. So I
So was
switched
this
to
to cover physical pain or emotional pain or both? Because you said
think,
you mentioned a little bit you had some surgeries.
yeah. So I was always athletic, I always lifted weights, I was always physically fit. And throughout the years, I broke my body down from all the
Okay.
athletics.
So
I
you
was a
had
mixed
pain.
martial, yeah, I was mixed martial arts fighter for a couple of years. I had 2 hernia surgeries, 2 rotator cuff, 2 neck surgeries, from breaking my ankle. I actually broke my ankle 5 times within my life, but 3 times in the military. Um, within
Don't
a
you have
7 month,
plates in your ankles? Don't you have metal plates in them now?
I do not. No, the military wanted to do surgery and put plates and screws in there, and I denied them because the Navy doctors in the 90s were not known as being such the best
I
doctors
get
in the
it.
world. So
I get it.
I didn't want to leave there with a limp for the rest of my life. So I was like, no. So, but
But you've never
and my
had surgery on your ankles?
had 1 surgery on my ankle, and that was when I actually tore the tendons and ligaments and broke the bones. They had to redo the ligaments and tendons, but not for the bone itself.
So do you happen to have arthritis in them now?
My left one gives me problems when it's cold and when it's raining. I definitely
Okay,
have
that's
that.
arthritis.
It's actually raining today and it's aching a little bit, but I go to the gym 6 days a week and that really helps exercise. It really helps it out. If I were not to do anything physical, I probably wouldn't be able to walk down the steps,
Right.
but I try to
People
stay
need to
as
know
physical.
that too. They really need to stay active, even if something hurts. I mean, I'm not saying to overdo it or anything, but you have to keep your body active or you're going to lose all that muscle tone. You lose it faster than you can gain it back, right?
I'm competing in my first bodybuilding show in June.
Oh, good for you.
Um, Something that I've always wanted to do, but alcohol and drugs have always gotten in my way. And if I showed you
Was it
before
was
picture,
it when you were having these surgeries that you got into the drugs heavier just because they were
yeah.
giving
So
you pain pills?
yeah, when I got into the surgeries, they were giving me oxycodones,
Right.
Percocets, hydrocodones, and I literally had 5 surgeries within like 18 months, and they just kept giving them to me, and
And you took
me,
them and took them and took.
And being the addict that I wasn't taking one every 4 hours. I was taking 3 or 4 every 3 hours, and then before I know it, that month subscription was done in 2 weeks.
So let me ask you this. Did you quit taking the bipolar medicine during that time?
I did. I went on and off my bipolar medicine all the time. So when I
Okay.
first got back from the Marines, I got right back on it, and I was on it for about 3 years. And it
Does
seemed
it
to
have
work
side effects?
only if you immediately stop it.
Okay.
So it takes about a month for the medicine to actually get into your system to actually start working. So you actually have to have full 30 days of the medicine in your system to actually for it to start working. So if I would just were on it for like 6 or 7 months and I just threw the pill bottle away and just didn't take it anymore, I would have adverse effects.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would lose appetite, nausea, vomiting, headaches, a whole gamut of almost like flu-like symptoms. And then racing thoughts would start coming back. My manic modes would start coming back. My depression would start coming back, and they would come back more than they were before because it wasn't that middle ground of the medicine trying to regulate it. It
Balance
would
out.
it would
Yeah.
be that would be up and down. So I did that on and off for years. I would do the typical, it's working, so I don't need it anymore. So why do I have to take it if it's working? Well, because it's working, and that's why you have to take it. So I would always take myself off of it. I would always go all down until it was done for that month, and take one pill, one down until it was done. And always do I didn't know I had to renew it. And my wife like, that bottle's been empty for a month sitting there. Why didn't you renew it? Because I'm fine. I don't need it. I'm doing great. I'm doing good at work. I'm not having any outbursts. I'm not laying in the bed anymore. I don't need it.
But
I'm
did they
fine.
continue to give you pain pills?
They did. And I actually was the one that decided to stop taking them. They were giving me so many pain pills, and they kept upping the milligrams. Honestly, the more pain pills that you take, it stops taking the pain away.
Right. How long ago was that?
Been almost 5 years since I haven't taken any opioid or any type of pain medicine.
Okay.
It was right around my
Because I know
40th
that
birthday.
in the last 4 years, at least, maybe 5, the federal government started going, to the doctor.
Yeah,
You're going to do blood tests. We're going to check and see how much is in their system. You can only
absolutely.
stay on them for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
So,
now if you go to the emergency room with a broken ankle or whatever, or say it's a broken arm, they only give you enough for a week. And then you have to go see a pain management specialist with
right.
your x-rays and everything that's going on.
I,
And they
th-
put
I
you on.
think that's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Because the way that they were giving me, and I would, like I said, I would go through a month subscription or prescription in 2 weeks. And they'd be like, well, why you have 2 more weeks? I'm like, I'm in so much pain. It's just not working. Okay, we'll just up the milligram then. Instead of 5 milligrams, we'll give you 10, or if 10 wasn't working, we'll give you 20. And that they kept doing that for close to 4 years straight. It got to the point where I didn't want to live like that anymore. I
So
was
you
not,
just made that choice on your own.
well, I tried to take my life,
Again?
but this time I actually tried. I was drinking on top of taking pain medicine,
Okay.
and it was actually scaring me. I was like, this is how people die. Taking pain medicine and drinking alcohol. This is how people die in their sleep. And I started to think about what a piece of crap I was. Here I am. I have 3 daughters. I'm drinking. I'm doing pain medicine. I can't stop. They keep giving them to me. I don't know what to do. Me and my wife were fighting. I think I lost another job at that point. And I just didn't want to be here anymore. And I remember going to my bottle, and I counted them out. There was 18 Percocets in there, and I took all 18 of them, and I drank 12 beers.
Oh my gosh.
And I laid in the bed, and I said, please God, don't let me wake up tomorrow because I don't want to live this way ever again. And
He had different plans for you, didn't he?
I woke up that next morning, and the second bottle of medicine that I had for that month upcoming, I went and I flushed them all down the toilet. And I looked in the mirror, and I remember telling myself, I don't care how bad this is going to get. I'm not taking pain medicine ever again. I was sick for about 7 or 8 days, throwing up, going to the bathroom, the shakes, nausea, couldn't sleep. It was one of the worst, if not the worst feelings I've ever had in my life of withdrawal off of opioids.
And
But I
actually, you should have
specifically,
had help with that. So
yeah, well,
you're
now I
lucky
know
that
that you can actually kind of die from
you
that.
can die from that.
I
So
didn't know.
do you have spirituality in your life?
So many things have happened to me
So
over this
you
past.
so you don't believe in a higher power?
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely. There's no other reason
For you to be alive.
what I went through to what has been happening to me over this past year, other than a higher power thought for me that I had to go through 27 years of addiction and alcoholism to become the person that I am now, to be actually grateful for the life that he has given me, to be able to have the experience to share with those still suffering with mental illness and addiction, for me to
Absolutely.
be able to understand what they've gone through, and for me to share my story of hope and recovery. I was hopeless. I didn't think there was no way I was going to live. I truly thought I was destined to die from this disease of addiction and mental illness. I thought there was no way there was a God if he's going to let me suffer like this. Little did I know that when I asked for courage, he wasn't going to give me courage. He was going to give me something to be courageous for.
That's right.
When I
Gotta
asked
be
for
careful what you
bravery,
ask for.
yeah, he wasn't going to make me brave. He was going to give me a situation where I had to become brave.
Yep.
I now know that things didn't happen to me, they were happening for me. I never was
Did you
grateful.
figure that part out on your own?
Finally believing in a higher power, to finally
So you
accepting.
listened to his words.
So many things have happened to me that they're not coincidences. I stopped believing of coincidences the second week I was in rehab.
Good
The
for
people
you.
that he had me meet in rehab, there was just one gentleman that walked around every day and read the Bible. And when I first got there, I was like, look at this guy walking around reading the damn Bible every day. Like, by the time I left rehab after 32 days, I was running the Bible study in the morning that he had
Wow.
left. The second week there, he was gone because he was finished his 32 days. And we were meeting in the morning before our first meeting at 8 a.m. It was an hour-long meeting. And he asked me one morning, he goes, would you like to join me? And I said, you know what? I'm going to try something different because what I've done up to now hasn't worked for me. So I'm going to go ahead and come to your morning meeting and see what this is all about. And I showed up, and he simply put his hand on my shoulder. He said, you're the first person that said you were going to come and actually showed up. He said, everybody else
Wow.
says, yeah, they'll come, they'll come, they'll come. And he goes, and I have to track them down. He said, you're the first person that said you'd be here, and you actually stayed here. So for the next 2 weeks, I didn't miss one morning meeting. On the day that he was leaving, he said, so I'm leaving. And he goes, I would really like this morning meeting to continue while I'm gone, for the other people that are coming in to help others who don't believe in God or higher power or any type of spirituality. And he said, and I'd like to pass this book over to Tim. And I started to cry. I didn't feel worthy. For the next 2.5 weeks,
That
I
didn't
ran that
make you
meeting.
feel good?
It made me feel incredible. I didn't understand why he picked me. And he
Okay.
looked at me and he said, I didn't pick you. He said, he picked you.
That's
He
right.
just had me as a tool to pass it on to you because he believes it's now time for you to understand his words. I'm still trying to understand everything that's happening to me.
I love this story.
I don't understand why all this stuff is. I don't feel deserving sometimes. I really, truly don't. Last week I went to Kensington, Philadelphia to speak about mental illness and addiction. And the gentleman running it is a minister. And after I was done speaking, he came up to me and said, may I pray with you? Would that be okay? I said, absolutely. I said, go ahead. And he's praying with me and he's got his hand on my chest. And I posted this picture on Instagram. A gentleman was there and he took a picture of this minister praying with me with his hand on my chest. I have to show it to you.
Okay.
He gets done taking this picture and he comes over to us and he says, you guys have got to see this picture. And we're like, what picture? He said, you're not going to believe what I
Before you
just took.
say this, can I ask you, is there a light shining through it? Yes.
I said, you did something to that picture. He said, I swear to God.
Nope.
He said, I didn't do anything to this picture because I didn't notice it when I took the picture. It was only when I went back and looked through the
I
photos
looked at it.
that I saw that picture coming down. I lost it. The minister lost it. He said, you cannot deny the fact that you are being watched or you were chosen to do this. He said, this is where you need to be right now in your life, helping others and spreading the word. He's like, this is why you're here. He said, this is your purpose now. He said, and I truly hope you don't take it for granted. And I said, I don't. I got that picture printed and framed, and it's hanging downstairs in my living room for a daily reminder that there's something special going on.
You bet.
And I'm not going to deny it.
I'm going to show
I can't.
you. That's amazing. And I'm so glad that you got that. Hopefully I can find it quick. So, had a lot of death in my family lately. And, oh, I hope I didn't get rid of it. Anyway, my aunt, I've got it. Okay, so my aunt lost her husband, so my uncle, in August. And she's been having a really hard time. Well, it was just last week was their wedding anniversary. So she wanted to go to the cemetery and take some flowers. And she asked me to go with her. And she's got a lot of kids. The reason she asked me is because, there's a lot of people that don't believe in going to graves. And it's not that we think anybody's there. It's more of an honor thing. We know that it doesn't, just like you can talk to God anywhere. You don't have to go to a building, a church. Not that a church isn't good for you because that's community, but you can, I can sit right here and talk to God by myself. You know what I'm saying? And I know that he's listening. And it's the same way when, I've lost both my parents and, I feel like talking to them. I don't have to go to the grave. They're not even there. I know where they're at. So I can sit anywhere. Going to the grave on special occasions is more of an honor thing. For me, it's,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
but I still sit in that quietness and talk to them. But like I said, I could do that anywhere. But anyway, my aunt knows that I always go to my brother's graves and my parents and I take stuff, and that I don't have a problem with that, and I don't think that that they're there and whatever. So she asked me to take her, and I did. And so she went up and she put her stuff on the grave and everything. And she asked me if I could take a picture, which I did. And I did look at it, and there wasn't the light shining through or anything. And then as we're walking back to the car, she started crying. And I said, would you like me to pray with you? And she said, please. And so I put my arm around her and I prayed. And I just asked God to take that sorrow away from her. And she's a very strong believer. That's what's got her through all her struggles. But anyway, we got done praying and she said, can you get a quick picture of the two of us? So I did. Let's see here.
And it's nowhere else either. It's right down on you.
Right down on me. She said, let me see that. Because I said, every time I have went to my mom's grave, my dad's grave, my brother's grave, right after I get done praying, I take a picture of me being there and I get that light. There is no other explanation. That's God's light shining upon us.
I had an experience in March 16th of 2017 that I ignored. And I continued to drink for the next 4 years. And it was the most I ever drank in my life. And
You can't not tell that experience.
I'm about to, so I couldn't stop drinking. I stopped the pain medicine, but I still couldn't stop drinking.
Okay.
I didn't know why. I just couldn't stop. And there's a nice little reservoir down here in Maryland. And unfortunately, my senior year of high school, my best friend lost control of his car and hit a tree and lost his life at the age of 17. And there's a memorial on the tree. There's a book you can write to him. It's still there. People put flowers on it. March 16th of 2017, I'm driving through the reservoir and I'm beating the steering wheel and I'm yelling up at the sky, why am I here? What is my purpose? Please tell me why am I going through this? I just need a damn sign that I'm not alone, that something out there is watching over me. And I get around the bend and I get to the tree where Bill, my friend Bill died. And I get out of the tree, I get out and I'm touching the tree and I'm like, Bill, I just need a sign, man. I'm a piece of crap father and a husband and a son. I can't stop drinking. I don't know what to do. I don't know my purpose in life. I can't get it together. I just need a sign that I'm not alone, that I'm here for a reason. And I get back in my truck and I go to leave and I'm crying pretty good. And instead of parking on the right-hand side of the road where you're driving, I pull off to the left-hand side of the road on oncoming traffic. And I sit there and I park and I think maybe 10 minutes goes by and I'm still crying. And this car pulls up in front of me and we're bumper to bumper. And I see the man get out of his vehicle and he has his dog. He's about to go walk over to where the water is. And I look up and I realize it was my best friend, Bill, who passed away. It was his father, whom I haven't seen since 1996, 19 years earlier. I get out of the vehicle and I say, Mr. Bill, and he looks at me and he says, Timmy, and I fall to the curb and I start crying. And he goes, what's wrong? What are you doing here? And I said, Mr. Bill, I'm an alcoholic. I can't stop drinking. I've hurt everybody in my family. I don't know what to do. And he comes over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, Timmy, I'm not even supposed to be here this morning. My bags are packed. I was supposed to leave for South Carolina at 6 a.m. this morning. My wife came to me in a dream last night and told me to come here at 10 a.m. this morning. He said, I truly believe this is why I was here, to come and see you. And I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him to send me a sign. And he said, Timmy, Miss Denise came to me last night and told me to be here right now. He goes, I was supposed to leave 4 hours ago. And we hugged. And I didn't acknowledge that specific event. For the next 4 years, I drank the heaviest I've ever drank in my life. My addictive personality told me it was okay because something's watching over me and I'm going to be okay. That was the disease of addiction telling me that I was being protected and that nothing was going to happen to me. So I didn't have to continue I didn't have to stop drinking. It wasn't until the day before I went to rehab. I got kicked out of my home. My wife couldn't take it anymore.
You finally did it.
I wrecked my brand new truck. I hit something on the way to the liquor store. I don't remember. I got up the next day to go drive. My wife said, go look at your truck in the driveway. And I went and looked. She said, you don't know what you hit, do you? And I said, no. She said, you can't stay here. You got to go figure it out. So I drive my truck to my friend's house.
Were you still drunk?
Um, I believe so. Yeah, I was always drunk at that point. I was drinking Fireball whiskey. I was drinking 25 miniatures a day the last year of my alcoholism. And they're 2.5 shots a piece. So I was drinking 60 shots a day of whiskey.
How's your liver?
When I got to rehab, it was almost 4 times what it should have been. And the doctor told me if I would have continued to drink like that, I wouldn't have made it to 48. So like it goes along the correlation of how this all happened at the right time. I get to my friend's house and he goes, well, you got kicked out of your house. Let's go to the bar. I'm like, okay, sounds good. We go to the bar.
Oh
I leave the bar. The day after I wrecked my truck, I leave the bar and I rear end somebody.
Oh my God.
It hasn't even been 24 hours. I get out. Guy's okay. Actually, the back of his car was fine, but my front bumper was messed up. I slapped the guy on the back of his shoulder. I said, I'm out of here. I got my truck and I took off. I was completely drunk at that point. Get to my friend's house. I'm like, I can't stay here, man. I got to go be by myself. I go to a park and ride and sit there for 48 hours and listen to sad ass music and drink for 48 hours. Just doing
again, you should have had an alcohol poisoning and died.
I have doing the whole woe is me thing. I'm a piece of crap. I don't deserve anything. My kids deserve a better father. My wife deserves a better husband. The whole blame game thing. After 48 hours of having my phone off, because I didn't want to hear nobody, I turn it on at 7 after 10 in the morning. 2 minutes later at 9 after 10, my childhood friend Brandon calls me. He says, Lodgen, what the F are you doing? And I said, I'm in my truck. I'm drunk. I'm cold. I'm hungry. I'm tired. And he said, good. That's what you need. He said, I just got off the phone with your mom and your wife. We have a plane ticket sitting for you tonight at 8 p.m. You're going to go down to West Palm Beach, Florida. Going to go to Banyan Treatment Centers. He said, and I promise you, if you get on that plane, everything that you've lost, you'll get back 10 times fold. He said, just get on the plane. So I hang up. My wife calls me like 20 minutes later. She's like, I just got talk to Brandon. Please come home, pack your bags, take a shower, try to eat something and try to get a nap because it was only like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She's like, your plane leaves in 6 hours. I said, okay. So I get home, take a shower, couldn't eat. I've been drinking for 40 hours. My stomach was messed up. I couldn't eat. Sitting on the edge of the bed. And I start getting anxiety. My panic attack sets in. I start thinking about, man, I got to go to rehab. I got to really deal with this situation. Oh my God. And it became overwhelming for me. My addiction popped in my head. It grabbed me by my hand and took me into the basement of my home. They put a rope around my neck and stood me on a bucket and told me to step off. My wife realized I wasn't in the bedroom anymore. She came downstairs and sees me in the corner of my basement, standing on a bucket with a rope around my neck. She said, what are you doing? And I said, I can't do it. She said, please, Tim, do you know what this will do to your family? Please get down and everything will be okay. We can fix this. Please get down. So I get down, I fall on the floor and cry for about 10, 15 minutes and go upstairs and I call my friend Brandon and I'm like, I'm going, I gotta go. I said, if I don't go, this disease is gonna kill me. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And he said, just do me one favor. When you get past security, please call me because I wanna know that you're not gonna get dropped off at the airport and jump in a cab and take off. I wanna know that you're past security and you're getting on the plane. I said, okay. So I get there, my mom drives me, drops me off. I get past security and I call him. I say, I'm past security. I got 30 minutes till my plane leaves. And all he says is, I love you and I'm proud of you. I'll talk to you later. And he hangs up the phone. I go to sit down at my chair, waiting for the plane. And as I sit down, this overwhelming feeling of hope comes over my entire body. It was a warm blanket feeling that I've never felt in my entire life. The anxiety went away, my panic went away, my worry went away, and something in my head said, everything is going to be all right.
What a
It
relief.
was one of the most amazing feelings I've ever felt in my life. When I got to rehab, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared. I knew I was exactly where I needed to be at my time, at that time in my life, to save my life. Because within that 2 or 3 days of processing, the doctors told me I wouldn't have made it to 48. My liver enzymes were almost 4 times. My blood pressure was like 163 over 120. I was almost to a stroke level of high blood pressure. I was 25 pounds overweight. My face was always flush red. I was in bad physical health, and it wasn't a coincidence that happened at that time in my life. It wasn't a coincidence that I met that man of God in rehab. It wasn't a coincidence that when I got home after 32 days, that I found a program, a fellowship around my house called Over the Rainbow. And after 5 minutes of sitting
I love
down,
that.
it poured down raining. And somebody walks in from outside and says, everybody come outside and look at the rainbow over the building.
Wow.
It was at that moment I stopped believing in coincidences. I was like, I am right where I need to be. This is the fellowship that I need to be. This is the place that I need to go. I jumped in 100%, both feet into sobriety, into recovery. I did 98 meetings in 90 days, got a sponsor. I do 3 meetings now a week. I go to the gym for my health, for my endorphins, for my dopamine, for my mental health. I do that.
You stay in your
And physical.
bipolar medicine?
Bipolar medicine, believe it or not, actually works when you take it without drugs and alcohol.
Got
Go
that.
figure. Go figure.
Go
Um,
figure.
and I'm on a low dosage because it actually has the ability to do what it's designed to do.
Sure.
I take a 5 milligram Lexapro, and then I do take 100 milligram Seroquel at night, and that's more of a psychotic medicine for my racing thoughts and my manic modes. That actually helps me to sleep, because if not, I would wake up every hour on the hour with racing thoughts and things I had to do, and thinking about next week, month after that. And now when I take it, I can actually get a good 5-6 hours sleep before I wake up. But I'm only up for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I can roll over and go right back to bed. I'm not up. Usually when I used to wake up, if it was 3 or 4 o'clock, I was up. That was it. Like, there was no going back to sleep, whether it was 3, 4, 5 or 6 hours. If I got up, my eyes were wide awake, and I was already processing what was going on for the day, the next day. And it was just overwhelming. That brought on anxiety and panic attacks, overthinking. Now it truly is one day at a time. I don't think about what I have to do tomorrow. I don't think about the bills that have to get paid next month. I don't think about what I have to do at work tomorrow. I truly wake up in the morning. I say, thank you for giving me another day. Thank you for giving me a day of sobriety. Thank you for giving me a second chance of being a better father, husband, son, and friend. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And when I go to night to sleep, I say, please help me to reach as many people as possible suffering with mental illness and addiction, in hopes that they know that they can recover and live the life that you've always had waiting for them. I say it every night before I go to bed. My prayers change. I don't pray for anything for myself anymore. I pray for other people. I pray for good things to happen. I don't ask for anything in my life. I have everything that I've ever wanted. And now I truly realize that. I used to always, why don't I have the big car? Why don't I have a lot of money? Why don't I have a nice house? I have what I've always needed right in front of me, but I never had the gratitude for it. I have a home. I have a job. I have a wife that loves me, a mother that loves me. I have children that have accepted me back into their lives as a father. I have my health back. I have the ability to wake up in the morning. What a special gift that is. You know, we have, do you know what the odds are that you were born? It's 1 in 400 trillion that you were actually born. We have already won the lottery, and so many people take it for granted. You are special. I am special. Everybody that was born is a special person. We all have special abilities. We all have great things to accomplish. They say the greatest loss of gifts is in the cemetery. That's where books are unwritten, movies were never made, where stories came to an end. They were never able to live to their fruition. We have a chance to change somebody's life. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to change one person at a time. It's that's
I
all.
have
If I can reach,
no doubt in my mind that that's what you're doing. No doubt whatsoever.
ask for anything anymore. I just want to help people. That's all I want to do. I truly believe that's my purpose now, is to share my story in hopes of helping somebody. And that gives me such a great feeling. It gives me a feeling of purpose that I've never had before in my entire life. I was always searching for something. I was always searching for, I always thought I had something special, but I never knew what it was. I finally think I found it.
Kind of sucks that you had to go through all that to get to that point. But
I
you
thought
did
that
have
in the
to.
beginning.
But you
I
did
thought
have
that
to.
in the beginning. I really did. I really had resentment of why did I have to do that? But maybe I had to go through 27 years where somebody else only had to go through 5 or 10 or whatever their story is. Maybe I needed 27 years because something big is waiting for me, and I needed that 27 years of experience to be able to accept what's coming.
Well, I was going to say it all comes in if you're ready for it or not. And it just took you longer to get ready. But look at the amazing things that you're doing now. I love it. This has been very, very powerful for me. I don't know if you've seen me cry several times. And please, I tell everybody this, it really makes me mad that parents are still teaching their boys that they shouldn't cry, that that's not a manly thing. I am so sick of that. To me, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It shows me sensitivity. It shows me a kinder person. It shows me that you have emotions, and that's okay to have emotions. And that's the way I have a boy, and I've always taught him, I don't ever want you to hold back. Doesn't mean you're a crybaby. It means you have feelings. And the other thing is, if we cry, we have, and a lot of people don't know this, but we have these tear ducts in here that actually open up and they release endorphins, which actually helps you feel better. So a good cry, there's nothing wrong with it. Whether you're sad or you're happy, because I cry when I'm super happy too. I'm just a sensitive person. I mean, like I see, like I started crying for you, not because I was sad, because I was happy that you found where you needed to be, that you found that purpose. That wasn't a sad feeling in me. That was a happy feeling, but that still brings tears to my eyes. If I see somebody that has absolutely nothing and they win the lottery, I cry because I'm happy for them.
That's great.
So, and I'm not a big crybaby. Like, I am probably one of the strongest women you can meet. I've been through so much, and I just keep fighting. But I have a heart, a sensitive heart, and that's okay. That's okay. So I want you to know that's okay for you too, because there was a couple times when you got teary-eyed, and I love that you can do that. I love that
I have to be real. I can't, I don't write anything down. I don't go over what I'm going to say, because raw emotion is truth, and
absolutely.
people need to hear the truth.
Yep.
And the way that it affects you, it's genuine. And it takes more courage to show emotions than it does to hold it back.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'm not sure the ending question that I can ask you because there's so many, but if you could find the most important thing to tell people out there, what would it be?
I lost hope and it almost cost me my life. As long as you have hope, you have the ability to make things change. As long as you have hope, you have everything that you need. Without hope, when I didn't have hope, it was the darkest, most scariest place I've ever been in my entire life. When I found hope, or hope was given to me, it has been the most glorious thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. From going to that deep, darkest place of not wanting to live, to this place of awe, to this place of I never knew existed or even possible. What an amazing gift to have hope.
So there's a couple things that I want to say to you before we end this, and that is I want to say kudos to your friend who at the end helped along with your wife, and I believe you said your mother. So kudos to all of them, but really in the end it comes down to you. Even though those people gave you options and supported you, you still made that final decision. And that may be hard for you to accept, but that's the truth. If you had not made that final decision, you still wouldn't be here today. So please recognize that in yourself. I'm giving everybody else credit for leading the way, but you made that final decision. And you keep making that final decision every day to stay sober. So I still think you deserve a pat on the back.
I make that decision 4,722 times a day because that's how many seconds we have in a day.
Well, okay, so you make it 4,200 and how many?
4,722 times a day.
22. So make it 4,723. I don't care. Make it, but congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And
I really appreciate you having me on.
I can't even wait to see how many people respond to this. And
I'm really humbled. Thank you.
I know it's going to be a big help to some people, and I pray that you're that person that they listen to that gave them that little bit of hope to stop. That hope, though, you still have to accept.
Yes, you do.
So you get that. The initial hope should come from a higher power. It does come from a higher power, but whether you listen or not is the key.
I was lucky enough to experience that. Some people don't. And I'm not going to ignore it this time. I can't.
Don't. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And I tell your wife too that I said that you're amazing, and I thank her for letting you come on here, because there could have been things she wanted you to do, so she's probably sacrificing something too.
She gets to watch her TV without me sitting there trying to change the channel. She's loving this.
Are you one of those? Are you one of those who changes the channels when commercials?
She waits for me to go to bed so she can watch her Grey's Anatomy or Just Us or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, still, she's amazing too. She's went through a lot, and she's still standing behind you, and so she deserves that too. And your children and your 23-year-old daughter did she take it upon herself to get those books?
Yeah. and she texts me quotes out of them, and she said, I'm starting to understand, Dad. Like, I teared up at that. She took it upon herself to get a book to read up on why her father was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I didn't ask her to do that.
So that's amazing too. So kudos to her. And in ending this, I'd love for you to do me a favor. The last person that I interviewed, I actually got his book. I think it's something that you could use. It's a very quick read. It's like 132 pages.
Okay.
But it's called The Ego Cleanse. I did put it on my stories. I'm going to post it again tonight if you're following me.
Okay. Yes, I am.
And I'll give you the link to get it.
Okay.
But I read it because I do my homework for whoever I'm going to interview. And when I got into it, I couldn't stop. And 132 pages isn't very long, but
No.
man, did he hit home on so many things. You'll love it.
Awesome. No, I'm down. I've been reading more books than I've ever read in my entire life about recovery and myself and spirituality. So I'm open to hear anything.
Now, I have Kindle Unlimited, so I just did the Kindle version. So and now when I just got my update on my Apple last night, I can read my stuff up and down instead of sideways. So I love it. The update was just last night. And that's one of the first things they said, you can now read your going this way. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, the Kindle's $4.99 if you don't have the unlimited. So that's, cheap. But I don't know if you have an iPhone or not, or an iPad. Regardless,
Both.
I think even Android you can download Kindle on, right?
I'll check on when we get off here. I'll go to my iPad and check it out.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I think you'll get through it really quick, and I think you'll learn a lot. But okay, with that, thank you so much for being my guest. I'm super excited to hear what everybody has to say. Would you like anybody to reach out to you? Do you want to give your Instagram name?
If anybody wants to ask me any questions, or if you're doubtful in your recovery, or if you're having any issues mental illness wise, or if you need some help with fitness or anything like that to help you really become a better human being, they can find me at TLODGEN at Lodgen. I post my before and after pictures of when I was drinking and how I'm sober. I post my podcast. I post motivational things on there. So I truly like to do a bunch of positive stuff.
I'm going to pull you up right now. It's T what?
At TLOD.
Oh, at T?
Yeah, at TLOD.
Do I have to put the AT in there? Or
no, the little at symbol.
Oh, well, because I think I follow you already, so I can just put the name in.
TLODGEN.
TLOG.
LOD is in dog, GEN.
Oh, for Lodgen. Yeah. I got a lot of T's. This is weird. There's a T-Log podcast. Are you part of that? I've got TLOG and you're not coming up.
LOD is in dog.
Oh, no wonder. There it is. There it is. Well, you've done amazing things, haven't you?
I've been blessed.
Okay, and so down here we have the podcast and all that stuff. So I will be editing tonight. So hopefully this is Thursday. Hopefully it'll come out on Friday, if not Monday.
Yeah, let me know, and I'll post it right on my page. I'll put your link in there. I'll send people your way. Absolutely, that's how we do this.
And when I get done, I definitely in my stories is because I need to about every 8 hours give updates on what I'm promoting.
Yep.
So, because people from all over the world have different time zones and stuff. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
okay. Well, again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, to hear your story, and to finally get to meet you. So are you going to do any talking anywhere that anybody needs to know about that maybe they could go to?
My next actual speaking event will be in North Carolina. It's August the 10th. It is called Steve's Wings. I'll be posting up some more stuff about it.
Do you have a
Um,
website?
you know what? I haven't got it up yet. People are asking me to do a website. I was asked if I was going to write a book. So I've I've got
There's a
some things
lot,
going.
isn't there?
Yeah, I'm really. Somebody asked me I should be doing fitness coaching or life coaching on how to overcome mental illness, because fitness has really helped me stay focused, and my diet has helped me. Like, I've got so many things that I'm
There's so
thinking
many
about.
things.
It
Yeah.
really is. I'm just trying to stay grounded and balanced.
Now you
And
need to see a life coach, which I'm one of them, by the way. But no, a life coach that actually helps you figure out a direction, because like me, I have so many different options and things, and too many probably at one time. But I have to finish figuring out, where am I going to end up being? I own a boutique, a fitness center. I podcast. I run fitness courses, teach one-on-one. Yeah, there's a lot with me too. And no, my only addiction is chocolate, which, don't you laugh. Don't you laugh, because it's real. It's real. It's sugar. It's sugar, and it's not good for me. And I could become a diabetic. But the worst thing is that I actually cannot just eat one. And that feeling of uncontrol, that I do not have control, is horrible. People laugh at me and go, oh, man, I wish I had that addiction. First of all, I did live through all the addictions in the family. And I have a brother that is still an addict, and he's never done anything for recovery. So he just went from meth to, he had to stop it because he had a stroke. And he's got bleeders in his legs that they can't take out because it would kill him. So he's got a leg that's paralyzed, basically. He doesn't have, well, it's not paralyzed. He doesn't have any feeling though in it because of those blood clots, but they can't take him out. So God is still talking to him with all these things, but he's not listening. He did quit doing the drugs and he went straight to whiskey. And so he's doing whiskey, and I pray for him every day. He won't listen to my podcast because he doesn't want to accept that he's in there somewhere. And that's his right. So pray for him, please.
absolutely will.
Anyway, he says he makes fun of me when I tell him how bad my sugar addiction is. And because he says, oh, you're the perfect one out of all of us. You didn't do the drugs and you didn't do the alcohol. And I'm like, no, I unfortunately had to watch it all and experience it all. And my dad, so I will tell you that story real quick, but I'm going to stop recording if you don't mind, and let everybody know where they can also find me. I'm Struggle Winner. Hey, everybody. And that's struggle_winner. And look, my Life Struggles podcast is another page, and that's where I'll be posting a lot of my podcasts too. So thank you again. Love your story. And we will see you or hear you on our next podcast.